Why nobody wants to go to Subway?
Subway has closed about 7,600 U.S. restaurants since 2015, wiping out 28% of its entire footprint. This restaurant empire started with just $1,000, a broke college dropout, and a nuclear physicist.
Now, I'm not going to lie, I used to mess up some Subways, boy. Let me tell you something now. Your boy Brandon would go to Subway, and I would get that spicy Italian, and I would go ham, especially in my first few years of college when I did not care that much about my health and I thought that I could run and work off anything. Your boy was going to Subway.
Which already sounds like the beginning of a Netflix show that ends with someone in handcuffs. Spoiler alert, it does. These two accidentally built a $9 billion empire that became the biggest chain worldwide, officially dethroning McDonald's after 50 years.
If there's one thing that I'll say that I see more than anything at the time when none of us knew what we know now about food, you would see Subways. They would put a Subway in the bathroom in a public restaurant.
Colonizing gas stations, hospitals, and...
See, in the hospital, you're trying to get a colonoscopy, and then Subway's at the True Bethel Baptist Church. They got Subway when you're trying to praise the Lord.
Churches. And I'm not even kidding. But this foot-long fairy tale was about to get dark. Real dark. Subway found their secret weapon. One ordinary...
Epstein numero uno himself. Man, and this dude, a lot of people weren't there for the Jared wave. This was a different time, and this is when a brand would pick somebody out of the blue. They picked this guy. Bet it on the wrong guy.
Customer. They turned this man into their messiah, plastered his face on 300 commercials for 15 years. Then, the FBI raided his house, discovered things that made the agents need therapy, and boom, their spokesperson got 16 years in federal prison, where, ironically, the food is probably healthier than what Subway was.
Look at that. And that's the crazy part. That's really what Subway looks like when you get it. Now, me, I was a very specific asshole that would pull up to Subway, and I would make sure when I got in there, I would make sure that they would toast my bread 3 times. I would make sure they would put about 33% of the sauce that I wanted on there. I was the worst person in Subway because I'm making sure that it does not come out looking like that.
Serving. But wait, it gets worse, because of course it does. While their poster child was getting fitted for orange jumpsuits, scientists were putting Subway's food under microscopes, and oh boy, they got exposed for selling straight up fake food. Even their bread was more fake than a Kardashian
yoga mat
family reunion. Trust me, bro. After this video, you'll never walk into a Subway the same way again. You might not walk into one at all. It is December 2025, and you're watching a Wikipedia, where I document corporate failures from my parents' basement.
Make sure you give him a follow. Let's get to the beginning of it.
A family friend for financial advice. That friend happens to be Dr. Peter Buck, an actual nuclear physicist.
There you have it, right there. A scientist created some fake food for you. Literally the whole answer at the beginning of the video.
Now, a nuclear physicist giving financial advice should have ended with invest in uranium or bet it all on the space race. Instead, Dr. Buck looked at this financially challenged teenager and said, sandwiches are the future. Then he handed him $1,000 and they shook hands. That's it. That was the entire business.
At that time, $1,000 was like a bajillion, so calm down.
Plan. They opened their first shop and sold 312 sandwiches on day 1 at 69 cents each. Nice. Not bad for 2 guys who definitely didn't know what they were doing. By 1974, 9 years in, they had 16 shops across Connecticut.
And it's crazy to think about that. You know, there's a lot of things that people don't understand as far as being able to have foresight and see stuff like this. So what he saw at the time was this was a broke kid coming to him, and he wanted to be able to like make his own money. And he showed him that if you are going to do something that is going to help people in your situation, just as making bullshit sandwiches, you're going to be able to 16x your income in your restaurants and everything like that. So it's funny to think about, like, even now with inflation and everything going on, like if you were just to go set up a burger stand and you would be able to sell burgers slightly cheaper than McDonald's, then you would be able to 10x your business.
They looked at their original name, Pete's Super Submarines, and realized Americans are too lazy to remember 3 whole words, so they shortened it to Subway. So there they were, stuck at 16 stores, going nowhere fast. Then Fred and Peter discovered franchising, which is basically convincing other people to pay you for the privilege of making you rich.
And that's when you make the big bucks, baby.
The growth was more explosive than their future customers' digestive systems. They went from 16 stores to 200 by the early 1980s, then hit 1,000 stores by 1987, and they reached 2,000 stores just 1 year later.
The best part to be is right in the middle, because you're at the 200, you're at the early concept. At 1,000, you're at definitely proof of concept, and by the time the 2,000 opens up, you have money just printing for you. This should be the goal of all of us.
That's a new Subway every 8 hours. So, Wee, why doesn't everyone just franchise and print money? Beautiful question, my beautiful smart viewer. There are 2 reasons why Subway infected Earth. First, their stores were stupidly cheap to open. Just $40,000 total, which is what McDonald's spends on their bathroom tiles. Meanwhile, McDonald's wanted $300,000 minimum.
And if you think about what's in a Subway, even though it's supposedly fresh, opposed to what's in a McDonald's, you're actually relatively not worrying about a bunch of stuff. Cookies, some subs, and that's it. Well, opposed to McDonald's, you got to make the chicken sandwich, you got to make the chicken nuggets, you got to make the ice cream machine, which is always broken. So they have so many things that they have to worry about inside of a McDonald's. So you can definitely see how $40,000 is a great small investment to get back so much profit, because you're not worrying about all these extra margins in your restaurant.
To whisper Ronald's name, Subway only required a toaster oven, a knife, and a human with
boom, right there. That's all you need there, and you're cashing out.
Functioning thumbs. No cooking skills needed. It was barely a restaurant, more like a food assembly. Second reason, and this is art, they had the location standards of a crack dealer. A former executive literally told Fortune, "We put them up any effing place we could." They put a Subway inside true
boom, right there, anywhere they could. That's why you were seeing so much. They would put it in the worst neighborhoods. They did not care at all, as long as you were getting that $5 foot long.
Bethel Baptist Church in Buffalo. They stuck one on a Rhine River cruise boat in Germany. And this insane strategy was working perfectly until one regular customer walked in who would single-handedly become their rise and their apocalypse. In the 90s, America developed a new eating disorder called low-fat obsession. The entire country was basically on a diet that made bread sexy and cheese illegal. This was Subway's moment to strike. Subway started marketing themselves as the healthy option, which is like being the smartest person at a flat earth convention.
And it's so crazy because so you would say now that we're as health crazed as we could be as a society, but this time they were also focused on the health craze, but still everybody was so stupid at the same time and knew nothing about health for the most part. So they were able to just tell us that this is healthy and these salads were going to be the way, but we're going to cover them in ranch dressing and make you shake them in the thing, and then we'll give it to you, but it's still healthy. Buy it now. It's all marketing. Hey, fantasy sports fans, are you ready to take your skills to the next level? With Underdog Fantasy, you can draft your favorite players so you can make the ultimate picks to win cash. And it's super simple. All you have to do is pick more or less on your favorite player stats, and if your pick is correct, you get cashed out instantly. And I can't think of any other way that I would watch the game after using Underdog Fantasy, and I want you to join up by using my promo code BBSound1. By using my promo code, Underdog Fantasy will match your deposit up to $100 so you can start playing instantly. Download today and start making your picks. Underdog Fantasy, where every fan becomes a champion.
In the early 1990s, they ran campaigns like Big on Taste, None on Fat, and the 7 Under 6 menu, 7 sandwiches with under 6 grams of fat. Today's kids would have loved it for different reasons. The marketing was technically working, but it wasn't memorable. Enter Jared Fogle.
Dun 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 dun. That's
a 20-year-old college student at Indiana University who
They were like, look at him. He looks so innocent, man. Look at his innocent face.
weighed 425 pounds. This man was
Oh, he's obese, and look at the story. There's nothing that's gonna go wrong here.
so large he couldn't fit in normal classroom seats and had to take classes with stadium seating. Then, something snapped. Maybe it was the chair he sat on. Jared decided to walk to Subway twice a day and eat only their sandwiches. That's it. In 3 months, he dropped almost 100 pounds. By the end of 11 months in 1999, he had lost 245 pounds, more than half his body.
So the first 100 pounds was on him. Subway caught wind of that, and then the last bit of weight that he lose, they helped him lose it so they could do this.
Body weight. The story eventually crawled its way to Subway's corporate marketing director, and on New Year's Day 2000, Subway aired the first Jared commercial. The ad showed his actual before and after photos and ended with the most beautiful legal disclaimer ever written. The Subway diet, combined with a lot of walking, worked for Jared. We're not saying this is for everyone. You should check with your doctor before starting any diet program, but it worked for Jared. It was the corporate equivalent.
You don't understand how, like, these commercials did numbers for, I just wish I would have had the foresight at that time to get on the train and get off the train slightly before everything went shooting down the hill, because right here, they were printing money.
Of don't try this at home while actively encouraging you to try it at home. The response broke reality. Subway sales exploded 20% immediately after that commercial aired. When they tried pulling Jared's commercials to test other ads, sales fell down 10% instantly. This man's face was literally worth more than their entire menu. Meanwhile, Jared went from a broke college student who couldn't see his own feet to a millionaire.
Cashed him out the bando.
Companies were paying him $15,000 per speech to say,
Now they were putting the gasoline on the fire with this, and you'll see why in a minute.
eat less, walk more, like he'd invented physics. Then Jared launched his own foundation in 2004 to fight childhood obesity. This is like Mark Zuckerberg starting a
This picture right here, this picture would go back to haunt them forever.
privacy company. Turns out Jared had a secret hobby that would make everyone wish he'd stuck to eating pizzas in his dorm room. At the end of 2010, Subway did the impossible. They beat Ronald's McDonald's by over 1,000 stores. McDonald's had been the undisputed champion of giving people diabetes for 50 years. They invented the Happy Meal, the drive-thru, the entire concept of childhood obesity.
But think about that. That's so many things that they had to innovate to make sure that they were keeping the customers in, where you really didn't see any 7-Elevens ever have a drive-thru. They're usually always in a strip mall. They only literally, it's foot traffic that you're worried about. And if you look at the optics of what you can get from a Subway sub opposed to a McDonald's meal, it's actually pretty different, regardless, even if you're getting the smaller 6-cent sandwich.
Subway was worth $12.3 billion. But standing on top of the world means you're perfectly positioned for the world's longest fall. In 2013, something weird started happening. The average annual revenue per store started dropping. By 2015, it had dropped about 5%. That sounds small, like being a little bit pregnant, but this was the beginning of an 8-year death spiral that wouldn't stop until 2020.
I will say the problem that they had for the most part is they did have way too many subways. There were sometimes I would see subways and I'm like, why would you even put that there? That's like a waste of money and space. I know that they were just doing it to make sure that they got profit, but it was just totally unnecessary.
So why this sudden drop? Well, remember how Subway was opening stores everywhere? Turns out everywhere included right next to other Subways.
There, case in point, you would see a Subway next to another Subway, and it would be in a place where not that much foot traffic would be. Now, if you put a Subway where there's a lot of foot traffic in, you will never lose. Like any Subway in Vegas late night is going to be just fine because there's always going to be drunk fools at 3 a.m. pulling up to get a sandwich.
Subway was literally eating itself alive. And there's actually a term for this: cannibalism. When your stores steal customers from your other stores, you're basically punching yourself in the face for money. But this financial cannibalism was just the appetizer. The main course of destruction was about to be served, and it came with a side of FBI raids. In July 2015, the FBI showed up at Jared Fogel's door, and they weren't there to congratulate him on his weight loss. By August, he pleaded guilty to charges that I can't fully describe without getting this video deleted. Let's just say it involved children, and the worst
I'm going to pause this right there for everybody, and this was the moment that Subway had to go on one of the most epic political spin-arounds to try to save their company at all costs, and they should have known by this it was all bad.
Possible way, and leave it at that. This wasn't just bad, this was extinction level bad. Subway moved fast. They severed all ties immediately, scrubbed him from existence. But you can't delete 15 years of association.
No, you cannot, because we're still talking about him right now. For us that know about this,
From people's brains. Jared got sentenced to nearly 16 years in federal prison. And while everyone was focused on Jared going to prison, Subway was quietly collecting some of the weirdest lawsuits and scandals in fast food history. First came the footlong fiasco in 2013. Some hero with a ruler discovered Subway's footlongs were actually 11
inches. They were hitting us. They were just it looked like 12 inches, but it was only 11 inches.
Subway tried to argue that footlong was just a name, not a measurement, which is like McDonald's saying Big Mac doesn't mean it's actually big. They got sued for $500,000 because apparently in America, lying about size is only acceptable on dating apps. Then in 2014, a food blogger discovered Subway's bread contained azure-dicarbonamide, the same stuff that makes yoga mats bouncy and shoe soles flexible.
So basically, I ate, I want to say, at least 3 Air Jordans in my entire life, thanks to Subway's bread.
Their response? It's FDA approved. Cool, so is Botox, but I don't want it in my lunch. They removed it, but the damage was done. 2017 brought the chicken scandal that broke biology. A CBC investigation found Subway's oven-roasted chicken was only 53% actual chicken. The rest? Soy. Their chicken was basically a vegetable cosplaying as meat. Subway sued CBC for $210 million for defamation, which is like suing your mirror for showing you're ugly. The judge threw it out because you can't sue someone for reading a DNA test. By 2020, Ireland's Supreme Court legally declared Subway's bread wasn't bread, it was cake. Too much sugar to
Oh yeah, and everything, don't even think just because it's salty, like that's sugar bread to the 100, then that's so right. I haven't heard of that, and that makes so much sense that it was basically birthday cake that we were eating.
Qualify as actual bread under tax law. Subway was selling cake sandwiches this entire time. Then came 2021's tuna scandal, the final boss of food fraud. 2 women in California sued Subway, claiming the tuna contained no actual tuna DNA. A New York Times investigation couldn't identify what.
Every time I looked at that tuna, oh my God, I don't like tuna. I'm not a fan of it, But every time I look at that tuna when they spreaded it on it looks like cat vomit, and I don't understand how people could even half enjoy that.
Fish species it was. In 2018 alone, Subway closed 1,108 locations in the US. Sales dropped $210 million from the previous year. They lost 25% of their empire in less than a decade, which ironically is the same percentage of actual chicken in their chicken. By 2022, Subway had been in crisis for 7 years straight, longer than most marriages and twice as painful. They deliberately closed 5,600 stores. They launched the Eat Fresh Refresh in 2020.
Oh boy, this did not work at all. This was some of the most annoying advertising ever.
Which is corporate speak for please forget we fed you yoga mats, with 20 new menu items with premium ingredients. Premium meaning might actually be food this time. But their biggest comeback bet came in 2023, $80 million on deli meat slicers for 20,000 restaurants. $80 million on the ability to cut meat. By early 2023, this insane strategy was actually working. 10 consecutive quarters of same-store sales growth. Things were finally looking up. The comeback was real. Then, the billionaires arrived. Just when Subway started showing signs of life, the founding family said peace out and put the whole thing on eBay. Well, not literally eBay, but they might as well have. Enter Roark Capital.
So I'm going to explain something to you all about the current state of food that you might not notice. Have you gone past your local McDonald's? Have you gone past your local Wendy's? Have you gone past any of your local chain restaurants and noticed they're all a box shape and gray now? The reason that that's happening is because private equity companies like this are coming in to buy all of these restaurants because they see the money in having the brand. They're not buying it just because they want to have their own sandwich shop. They're buying the name Subway, and now that they buy the name Subway, they put it in a corporate package that they can consistently reheat and reuse, and it almost goes back to the way that they were beforehand because they're trying to maximize profit.
In August 2023, a private equity firm that collects restaurant chains like Pokemon cards.
So see, all of these right here are owned by this one company. So what are they going to do when they have all of these things? They're going to make them sterile and the same as much as they can to reduce costs and maximize shareholder profit.
Now under new ownership, they're desperately fighting for relevance with increasingly unhinged marketing. Their latest stroke of genius? Offering free sandwiches for life to anyone who legally changed their name to Subway. Over 10,000 people actually did it. The question is, can private equity save Subway, or are they just the hospice care before the final foot-long funeral? If this video gets 100,000 likes, I will legally change my...
Don't do that. Don't change your name to Subway. Just make sure that you're doing the due diligence to look into the food that you're eating. I think another thing is that there's just a lot more better options that people are starting to realize. Now, will chains like this see any dip in the Midwest or in any more rural areas in America? I honestly don't think so, because in those areas, fast food is alive and well. But all of those things that happen to Subway are almost... I mean, it's so hard to come back from that, and I honestly haven't eaten it would take a lot for me to have a Subway sandwich right now. And that's not because I'm bougie. It's just because I care about my body. So like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.